Can I get rich off of surplus funds? Question I get all the time. I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to look at what's in the envelope. I'm going to talk about a couple different things in this video. Excited to be here with you today. Do me a favor, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for, click down below and I'll see you in the video. So a question I get all the time is, can I get rich in surplus funds? This is the last week in July in 2022, and I've got another contract in. This one I just opened up, and I'm going to process it today. So on this one, it is a, so when I open it up, and you guys know me, I really respect privacy. The first thing I have is a copy of a social security card, which is cool. I have a copy of a driver's license as well. I have a death certificate. It's a lady claiming on behalf of her mother, so I got the death certificate right here. And then I have a notarized contract, which is notary stamped it twice, not sure why, but I got the notary stamp down there a couple times. And I have the claim for abandoned property, and I have the other information I need here. So let's look at what this claim is. I honestly forget. Okay, so this claim is a account. Looks like it's an old checking account, and it has a balance of $26,920.85. So this is roughly a $2,700 payout. So when I get this in the mail, I should be treating this like it's $2,700 that has just arrived to me, and it's in my care. To get my client paid her $27,000, and to get my $2,700 commission minus that, so hers would be $27,000 minus $2,700. I also have a check, and I have another video coming out on this, so I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I do have a check that I did receive in the mail for a tax overage. This one was for $14,579.10. Now, I have to split 70% of this does go to my client, so on that, I will receive roughly like $4,300 and some change on that. So let's go back to my original question. Can surplus funds make you rich? Well, you have a, let's go into an analogy here and follow me on this. You're going to need three things for that to happen. You have a gardener who does his own gardening business. Let's say that his expenses monthly are $3,000 a month and he brings in $3,500 a month. Can he make it on his own business? Absolutely. And he could probably get more referrals. He's going to lose customers, but if he probably does the job that he should be doing, he could, with that $500, he could probably easily make that grow. Is he rich? Probably not. Do you see gardeners becoming rich? Absolutely, happens all the time. And I'm going to talk about that with surplus funds here in just a second. Now let's go to a doctor. You have a doctor who works for somebody, makes a doctor's salary, and everyone's saying he's rich. Is he really rich, or she? They have their own business. They work under someone else's practice. They're getting paid hourly, probably a huge salary. They probably have a nicer house than the gardener. They probably have a pool, probably upstairs, probably a mini mansion. They probably drive the nicest of cars. They probably have nicest everything. But are they rich? Like, are they really, really rich? Or do they have student loan debt that they're paying off versus the gardener? Now, let's look at the gardener. Do you ever see gardeners that live in upscale neighborhoods and they have their little Toyota trucks out? Because I have. I've seen gardeners that have done very well and very financially. In fact, in my old neighborhood, we had a gardener in that neighborhood that he drove his little truck. He worked on a number of yards, and what he did is he got his house at the right price. He made payments on it. He got leverage there, and he was able to keep on making payments and able to get what he wanted and save up for originally his down payment. And he was an immigrant from Korea that came here to the United States, opened up his own gardening business, drove his little truck around, and he's done very well. Where now he's retired, he can't garden anymore because of his back, but he really doesn't need the income. He's got the savings account, his wife worked also, but he's got a savings account, and he paid for his house in full, and it's free and clear. And going back to the surplus funds, so I just showed you a check coming in for $2,700, and I showed you another check that I'll get a $4,300 commission off of. So let's go into this. The three things that you need is, number one is you need, well, and these kind of go in sync with each other. You've got to have a business, a foundation, and leverage. Those are the three things, the three gold nuggets I have for you on this video. So let's talk about this. A business. You've got to have a surplus funds business where you call people and you get envelopes that come in the mail that are $2,700, and you get checks that come in the mail that are $14,000 checks. I've been mentioning on the last several videos, I was waiting for a couple large checks to come in. That is one of the large checks that I come in. And I don't show you every single check that I get in. I'm not here to say, hey, look at what I have, look what I have. What I do try to show you is if you have a foundation and you have your business moving for you, you're going to get contracts in and you're going to get checks coming in and out. And someone says, well, I can never get their private information. I can never get any information. I've got a social security card and a driver's license, a copy of it, a death certificate. I have everything I need in this envelope to just process it. And my client has trusted me. I love it. I'm going to get my client paid. I love it when I get on the phone with people and they're like, hey, you just got me paid. You're legit, you're real. There is no greater feeling than that. So you've got to have a business. Now, in order to have a business, you have to have a foundation. In Surplus Warriors, we teach 4 different methods of surplus funds. We teach mortgage overages, tax overages, state funds, and bankruptcy funds. So I should say state unclaimed funds and bankruptcy unclaimed funds. Probably the easiest to get into is state unclaimed funds. The hardest to get into is mortgage. My main expertise is I've either mingled or gotten paid in all 4, but my main 2 are tax overages and state funds is where I've made the most money. And I just started off with tax overages, and when I saw how much was going to the state, I mean, Forbes had an article not that long ago, 49 billion, Forbes magazine, 49 billion is estimated in unclaimed funds, and just state unclaimed funds alone. That's just state. You have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of tax overages that is being escheated to the government every single year. It's happening in certain areas. If you don't claim your funds within a parameter of time, you lose them. You either claim them or you lose them, and they go back. Michigan was not paying. They just lost a lawsuit and they just started paying tax overages. They lost in court, but they were not giving the overage back to the former homeowner, and they're selling the property. And the thing is like the homeowner is technically the seller of the property. Yeah, they're being forced into sell, and yeah, they have no choice, but when they go up to that auction, if it's going for $5,000 and it sells for $20,000, that homeowner is technically the owner of the property selling the property. Yeah, it's like I said, it's forced. So what you should do is you should look in your area, find your state, find your local tax county. There's 27 of these that are out there. And what you should do is you should find out how to work your area. You might have to go down and watch a couple auctions. You might have to, I have plenty of other videos on certain niches and stuff. Go back, look at some of my old videos. Educate yourself as much as you can on this information. That's building your foundation. And then what I would say is almost work for free on your first couple deals. Find someone with some funds. So you're building your foundation. And I say this because like one of our coaches, the other day we were on the phone and I was just going over and I just said, hey, let's look at your last name, see if there's any in California. And his aunt came up. He's like, wow, that's my aunt. She lived in California a short time. People have unclaimed funds. You find money, and it should be next to nothing on your first couple deals. You help them get paid. You learn the business. You build your foundation. And then at that point, you keep on building it, and you build a business. So this envelope that I'm gonna get $2,700 off of, that check that I just showed you, that did not happen overnight. That took a few months into a couple years to learn the business, learn how to do this, learn how to put in the paperwork, messing up a couple times, getting denial letters a couple times, and having to go back and rework it, and then finally get it right. It's trial and error. And you do this with any company. Like you look at the head of any corporation, any bank, they're not going to take someone who goes in and just fills out a job application, and they're not going to say, you know what, we like you, we're going to put you in president of the whole entire operation. And if they did that, if they were to do that, you'd probably see the whole place crumble from the foundation down. It would just crumble. And I would see that occasionally in the school system. I would see like really bad principals promoted into another principalship, into the high school or something, and literally they would just take that high school and they would just destroy the culture, the foundation, everything about it, and the staff and the livelihood. I've seen that in teaching more, and it's I could write a book on that. But what I'm saying here is you've got to make sure that the person stepping into the position is qualified for the position. You got to qualify yourself. You've got to learn. You've got to start off small. You've got to work yourself up, and you've got to work yourself up that ladder. So you build your foundation, you build your business, and then you start getting what I call leverage. So if you could live a very basic lifestyle for your first couple years. So let's say your expenses are $3,000. Now I've just showed you a $4,300 check. I have about $10,000 this month coming in state funds, so that's $14,000 right there. Plus I've got some other funds coming out. But let's say you're doing $3,500. Let's say $4,000 for even numbers. Okay, so and that is so simple to do. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how easy that is to do in a business. And some of you might be saying, yeah, right, trust me. I mean, I'm showing you. If you don't believe me, go back and look at my other videos on weeks. I talk about how I get these contracts out. And you're putting that money away and you're starting to get leverage. And then you're gonna be able to do the right kind of investments. Like with me, I flip properties still, but I also will invest in certain properties. Like I'll grab properties and I'll just say, hey, here's an investment, or I'll invest in retirement accounts. Like my goal is that by a certain parameter of time, I'm gonna be not even needing cash or financially independent, where I could just draw whatever I want for the rest of my life and I have money just coming in where it's like, oh, what am I gonna do with this? And I've seen people do that. Like I look at my grandmother and I look at the investments that her and my grandfather made in my childhood. And when she just passed, she owned a house right on the edge of La Habra Heights, California, and it was worth a large sum of money. She had a lot of money in her bank accounts, her social security and everything that she was getting in. It was like, she didn't even need it, you know, and it's great to be in that position. And my grandfather and her started from nothing and worked their way up. Actually, my grandfather was, if you really want to know some family history, my grandfather was adopted, and actually he grew up in an orphanage and then later was adopted by his sister, and then literally he was a machinist his entire life. Like the gardener, he's a machinist, probably making just around minimum wage, maybe a little bit higher, yet he got a house at the right price. They paid off their house, and he still worked like 20 years after he paid off the house, but he made many of the right investments. They traveled, they did quite a bit, and they had a very comfortable lifestyle, and he enjoyed working, like he liked that. So you go back to that gardener, how do people do, like you get people, and especially in the United States, you get people all the time that they end up very wealthy to very well off. And it's not retirement, it's not Social Security that's gonna get you there. It's the leverage that you're gonna get in your business. So you start putting money aside. One other quick story I'll tell you here is when my wife and I moved into the house that we're in now, and this is like an offshoot of the house. This is behind this office was here. It's one of the reasons that attracted me to this house. I had problems qualifying for the loan because my main corporation was under 2 years old. So I went to the homeowners and I just said, hey, I've got this property right here. I'm selling it. Here's my down payment, and it was significant down. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll do this. And I said, in 6 months, I'm going to be able to qualify. Would you carry for 18 months with an extension if needed, just in case something happens? And they were a little hesitant, and I just, showed them a little bit of my background, history, money I was bringing in, how I could afford the payment, bank statements, and I had some of that, okay? And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll carry. So we came in with a significant down. 6 months, 8 months later, whatever it was, I refied them out, where we own the house that way. And that was a while ago, so I see that all the time in real estate. I see people that a house has expired, a house has done something, and you get that leverage. It's like, okay, there's a house, and let's say you live in Southern California. That's going to be hard to do, but there's a lot of houses where you could rent to own. You could build up that rapport with the landlady, landowner, landlord, whatever you want to call it. And I say that because I'm working with a friend right now that I try to get him into some owner finance in his house. And as it goes on, just say, hey, you know what, we'd be really interested in buying. Would you ever consider like selling and holding the note, holding paper? If you don't qualify for a loan or you can't hold it, then yes, like everyone's saying, well, the economy's going to crash, the economy's going to crash. It probably will, absolutely. But what happens historically every time you see economy crash? It goes up and it passes and then it keeps on going up. I remember I was in a seminar, I think it was Bruce Norris in Orange County. I was listening to speak one time, and it was like 2013 or 14, and he goes, we're now beginning to see this house selling over the low price and this one over the lowest price. He goes, did we hit the bottom already? Because everyone's like, oh, we're hitting the bottom. And for those of us who lived through the Great Recession, it was not fun. Many of us had financial devastation, including me. And it's like, but then we started climbing out of that. And historically, the market's always restored itself. So, and we do stupid things and foolish things to always get the market to crash. I get it, and what have you. I don't think we'll see a real estate crash like we did in 2009, and I say that because we don't have as many bad loans out there. But I do think you're going to see inflation. I do think you're going to see prices that are going to have to drop, and I do think you're going to see an increase in foreclosure. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be a complete real estate collapse. And it might be, I don't know, keep in mind, none of this is financial advice. But you build that rapport. You get someone who can't sell a house, you say, hey, would you be willing to let me come in with X amount down, and can I do a rent to own? Or if you don't have any money down but you could afford the rent, knock on their door and say, hey, I can afford to rent this. Would you be willing to rent to me with an option to buy after 2 years? And they might say, yeah, you get that price locked, you get it in contract, you get it into escrow, you open up and you go forward. I see it all the time. You're building leverage. And then in 5-7 years, that house is gone. Now you have $50,000, $80,000 in equity. It happens all the time. Or maybe you're in a lower area or a rural area or something like that, and maybe you have 10, 15,000 equity. Still a lot where you're at, where you're able to do something, and you build this leverage, and you keep on building it and building it, and you're gonna be fine. Another thing I see a lot in society is people like, I've known 2 or 3 people who've recently done this. When they retire, they've contributed into their Roth IRAs, and I think of my grandparents contributing to their retirement account, but one other individual, he just retired, and his house is in Southern California, free and clear, and they bought it at entry-level value. It's now worth over $1 million. It's like 1.5, 1.7. He had 2 Roth IRAs that he put 10% of his income or max them out every year. He did this for a couple decades. Each one of those is worth like 1.4, 1.5 million. So this is a guy going into retirement. Each one of his Roth IRAs, let's say 1.5, it's like right there. He's now got $3 million. His house is free and clear. He's got very low taxes, and he's still got some other income from investments coming in. That is the kind of position that all of us want to be in when we retire. What is retirement? Retirement is basically when you say, hey, I'm going to stop working and trying to build up my tomorrow. It's just, I have everything set in place, and I don't really need this. I mean, don't count on the government to get you rich, and you should not count on the government to ever get you money. Yeah, it's nice when you get taxes back and everything, but it's not the government's job to take care of yourself when you hit retirement. It's your job. So, can you get rich in surplus funds? Absolutely. You just have to know how to do the investments. You have to know how to get that leverage and how to be able to go forward. I read 10 pages a day every morning when I wake up. After I do my devotion, I get in the Bible and I read that, and then after that I read 10 pages of a book a day. I'm in a really good one right now, and it's interesting because that's, if you calculate that, that's 300 pages a month. That's over 3,000 pages a year. It's about 12 to 15 books a year I'm reading right now, like just averaging over 1 book a month, and it's great, and I love it, and I love it. The book I'm in right now, The Slight Edge, is also another good book if you're looking for some good books to read. And I'm actually talking about physical reading. Yes, I listen to Audible, but take 15, 20 minutes out of your day, read for 10 minutes a day. You're going to see the compound effect. Learn how to do some investments. It's interesting. I read an article recently, and this is how I got into the reading thing on the tangent that you guys see me get into often. I read an article on Warren Buffett recently, and the guy says no to the majority of his investments. It's like, wow, you think the guy would be investing in everything, but the majority of them he says no to, and he knows which ones are the right ones. And it turns out that a lot of your savvy investors, they know which ones to say yes and which ones to say no to. Because I get investments that cross my desk all the time. I'm constantly funding companies that go public. I'm funding real estate deals. I'm doing stuff within my finances that I like. And I say this because you get that leverage and you build it up. And then you get a comfort zone where you start bringing in money. Meanwhile, you should be doing a minimum of $10,000 a month in this business. And yes, I do think if you do things right. Now, going back to the doctor, if a doctor works his entire life, will he be rich? Well, eventually, yes, he or she will totally be rich 100% if they keep on doing it. Now, if they open up their own practice and they work their own practice, will they get rich? Absolutely, because you see the practice, now they own their own business, the taxes, everything else they get. It's just absolutely incredible, and they're going to do that much better. Same thing with the gardener, except the gardener will probably not be able to be as much, he won't be able to have as many opportunities as what the doctor has. I've never seen that yet, but I've seen cases where gardeners, like the guy I just mentioned to you, they've done very well by having smarts and that street smarts, and they know what to do and they know how to deal with it. In your surplus fund business, you're now self-employed, and when you become self-employed, it's a different world. I love the fact that I've crossed that line from teaching into working for myself. I just absolutely love it. But it's like benefits. I used to be able to walk into any doctor's office and hardly have a copay. Everything was covered. My deductible was very minimum. Now it's like I've got a very large deductible. Usually we're paying 60, 80 bucks on copays, things like that. And it happens. You have to be ready for that. When you first get self-employed, credit-wise, people look at you and it's very hard to do. It's very hard to establish credit. It's like, well, they like that consistent. And I was making more money. It's like, even when I applied for this house, it's like my salary was, at that time, it was pretty close to double of what I was making teaching. Now it's like it's well over that, but it was like double on what I was making as teaching salary. I still did not qualify for the house or the property. And it's like, okay, what's up with that? So when you become self-employed, you're in a whole new ballgame. But it's awesome. I mean, the time freedom. Like today, I'm taking my kids to something special this afternoon as I film this. We're going to spend some dad time with. I get to spend some dad time with my kids. We just did a road trip, and I should probably show a few videos on this on my YouTube account. But we went up through a family reunion. We went up through the Smokies. We stayed a couple days there. We were in the car. Thank God. We actually saw a bear, and I'm like, "Hey boys, check out the bear." My wife was with us. I mean, it was really cool. Being able to dictate and have that freedom in your schedule to, and with my kids, if you have kids and you're wanting that life, I'm going to say that I notice that the most valuable time with my kids is when I take them to the park and I go swing with them, or I throw the ball with them, or I go scooter riding. I have a big scooter. I'm 6'7". I have this tall scooter, and we go out and we go to the parks and we go scooter riding. And my kids love it. And we go around the schools, and it keeps me in shape. I know I need to lose a few. You've got that time and that freedom to be able to be the family guy that you want to be. And that's what's awesome about being self-employed. You don't get to do whatever you want when you want. I mean, this morning, I've got tons of meetings. I've got some stuff to do with Surplus List, the company, after this afternoon. But you do have time. Like, if I wanted to run the logistics for the company that I have this afternoon, I could do it this evening if I wanted to. I could move things around and have a little more freedom there and time freedom. But you have to have that strong will. You have to want to do it. You have to build that foundation. And in that foundation, you should fill your mind. Like, let's say you're going to go state funds, and let's say you're going to work in the state of Texas and you're going to get people paid. You should be filling your mind. You should be jumping on, reading every article you can about state unclaimed funds, how to find people, how to get a list, how to get certified in Texas, how to do this. Talk to a couple people that are doing the business. Ask as many questions as you can. Build that foundation, establish the business, and then you get the leverage to be able to do more of the things you want to do. Have some investments. And I know how it is to work full time and do this business full time. It's not easy. I've been there. I've done it. But if you really start contributing and playing this, and don't worry about social factor as much. A lot of people do that, like establish, like, oh, I have to go do this on a Friday night, or I have to go. In fact, if you say you don't have time for the business, really write down everything you're doing every single day and read out some stuff. Like, if you go to the gym every day, that's good. Keep that up. If you're going to Starbucks every day, sitting down and reading a magazine article and spending 30 minutes in there, that'd be a great time to start educating yourself on your business. Or if you're meditating every day, maybe spending some time in that meditation and really start thinking about your business and how you want to build the foundation, because I believe you have to actually do to get your business. I mean, if you sit down and you think your business in a place, it's going to be good, but there has to be a point where you pull the trigger and you have to get moving forward. So hey everyone, I want to thank you for watching this video. I've said a lot here, and I hope this helps. Do me a favor, if you like this video, give me a like, subscribe if you haven't. And I know this was a longer video. I went over a lot, and I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks again.